Guys, Artistic Nick, thanks for the click. Tonight I'm going to be drawing a Stormtrooper. I found this reference image on the internet and I really liked it. The thing that I like about this is you normally see Stormtroopers looking fairly pristine, completely white and shiny. I love this image here where the Stormtrooper looks battle scarred. There's muck and mud and scratches all over the helmet. But what I think I'm going to really enjoy doing the most is getting the contrast. So we've got the white of the helmet here, which is very, very light. The light direction is coming from the top right. And then we've got this darkness here. So I'm going to have a go at this. I've planned the drawing out already. And I've used a 4H pencil for that. So I'm just going to talk you through what I'm going to do. I'll stop here and there, but I'm going to time lapse most of it. So I'm going to start with the 4H and I'm going to go for all the darkest areas. So what you'll see me working on is the eyes, the mouth, the darkness within these holes and vents here, and the dark band coming around here. So I'm going to time lapse that. And then once I've got through that with the 4H, I'll come back to you and tell you where I'm going next. See you later. Hey guys, just a quick check-in now. What you've seen me do it's taken me about 2.5 hours to 3 hours, is I've started to find the darkest areas. I've been using the 4H and the 2H pencil. I'm now actually just going to start on the HB, and I'm going to be starting again with the very, very darkest areas, just so that I can then start to bring the value up in the other areas. Even in the lightest areas of this drawing, which we've got some very light areas around this edge and the top edge of the helmet here, there's going to be some value in there. So there's probably going to be a 4H, maybe even a 2H. So I'm going to be using this HB now. And I'm just lightly applying it to the darkest areas. I'm always pulling towards me. I know probably, well, certainly in the time lapse, it does look as though I'm sort of scribbling or shading, as maybe some of you would know it, but all I'm doing is I'm pulling it towards me, and I'm just making very, very light strokes, trying to keep the lines as close together as possible so as to not make big gaps in between which are hard to fill, because what we want is a very, very smooth transition from one value to another, and once we start on this HB, it starts to go on the paper quite smoothly. So don't worry if your 2H and 4H layers are a little bit choppy. You want to try and get them as smooth as possible, but really all that's doing is that's just conditioning the paper. It's just filling the gaps in the tooth with the harder lead, so that when we start putting the softer leads on top, we don't have the blotchy effect, the white effect. So I'm going to be going through this now with the HB, which is here. So it's a Caran D'ache grafwood HB. All of the pencils that I've been using are Caran D'ache. There'll be a link to those in the descriptions below. You can get hold of them from Amazon. They're my preferred pencil of choice, just because they give some really nice smooth values. There's not an awful lot of grit in the lead, so you don't end up scratching the tooth of the paper as much as some of the brands. And I just like the feel of them because they're slightly thicker than the normal size pencil. So I like the feel and the weight of them in the hand. So I'm just going to time lapse the rest of this. I'm literally going to go over the areas that I've already been with the 4H and the 2H, and I'm just going to be going over with the HB. I'll stop if there's anything of note to tell you and show you, and come out of the time lapse and video it. But for now, I'll see you. So here you can see that I'm using my HB pencil. I'm just going over the darker areas, the eyes and the band that goes across the top of the head. The main thing to make sure that you get in this type of drawing is you get the contrast between the dark and the light areas. So making sure that the dark areas are dark, really dark, and the light areas are really light, and that's going to give you that slightly more photorealistic look, the contrast between the two. So again, I'm just going over the same areas, layering the graphite so that we get that lovely rich tone. So as you can see, the picture's developing now. I'm making sure that I'm leaving the lightest side, which is the right hand side as we look at it, almost white. I'm going to obviously get some value in there towards the end. I might brush some of that into there, but making sure that the whitest areas, the lightest areas, are definitely the lighter areas. And this is just going to give you that realistic look, the realism. As this picture develops, you're going to see the lighter areas get slightly darker, but because I'm going to bring up the values in the darker areas as well, that they're still going to be the lighter areas. As you can see now, I'm brushing, I'm getting a little bit of the value into some of the lighter areas, still making sure that I'm reinforcing the darkest areas. There's some freehand work that's gone into the left hand side on the it's a grill or a vent, I guess, but it's doing the same thing. It's repeating the same process over and over and layering. Hey there guys, almost finished this Stormtrooper now. What I'm going to do is I'm going to add a dark background to it just to see if that affects the drawing at all, see if it brings out the white. So I'm going to be time-lapsing that, but just thought I'd check in with you. I'm quite happy with how it's turned out. It looks fairly realistic, so let's see how this background goes. Hey guys, a bit of a nightmare really. I've gone and added this background to this Stormtrooper, and I absolutely hate it. I don't think it adds anything to the drawing. So what I'm having to do, I'm trying to erase it, but as you can see, because I've gone so dark, even this electric eraser doesn't pull all of the graphite out of the tooth of the paper. So that's a lesson to anybody that's pressing too hard with their pencils, or even using blending stumps and things like that. You are going to grind the graphite down into the tooth of the paper. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try as best as I can to get as much of this off, and then I think I'm just going to have to use a black marker or something like that just to go around the edge to really bring it out. I just didn't think that I was getting it dark enough. I've gone to a 6B in these areas here, as you can see, and it's just not dark enough. It doesn't add enough contrast. It just made the actual Stormtrooper look quite wishy-washy, but I guess it's something that we learn on the way. So I'll get rid of this, and then I'll show you as I start to try and add the background with something else. Okay, so I've taken as much of that background as I can off. I've just tested out on a few pieces on the same paper that I'm using, a couple of different methods, and I think the black Sharpie is going to be about our best bet. I don't know if this is going to ruin the drawing, but hey ho, let's give it a go. I'll time lapse it and see what we think at the end. So there you go, guys. That's how to ruin a picture, in my opinion. I've gone with the Sharpie pen, and you can see the lines all over it. So it's had the desired effect, and what I wanted to do was really make the drawing stand out, because obviously a Stormtrooper is white, but I've gone about it probably the wrong way. So just a lesson to you all. You've got to trial and error these things. I wasn't drawing this for anybody, so this was just something that I was doing for myself. So not a huge mistake, and I'm not going to have to redraw it or anything. But in future, probably what I would do is I would either try the charcoal and go for charcoal just to try and get a nice even background, or what I might even do this with this one, is I might cut out the Stormtrooper and I might mount it onto some black paper just to see how that looks. But all in all, I'm quite happy with the drawing. I might just touch up a few of the areas here. It stands out quite well. I think the graphite drawing itself is pretty good. But I think that's about it. I'll see you in the next video. Hopefully I won't be making any major disasters in that one. And thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Guys, finished the piece now. What I actually ended up doing was cutting the Stormtrooper out and mounting it onto some black card, and I think we've got the desired effect. So thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll show you how to hash up another drawing in the next video. Bye. Hit subscribe, smack the notifications button, follow me on Facebook, Instagram and Twitter.